And welcome to a very special community event, one that is certainly near and dear to my heart. I'm Andrea Karlstrom, Director of Chaffee County Public Health, and I'm here to kick off the evening with you. We Are Chaffee, Stories of Resilience is part of the Housing and Health Speaker Series, hosted by your Chaffee County Offices of Public Health and Housing. We are working to bring opportunity, equity, and knowledge to Chaffee County with grant funding from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment's Office of Health Equity. If you'd like to learn more about this grant initiative, please visit www.housinghealthchaffee.org. We are excited to announce that this is the first event featuring the new community storytelling initiative, We Are Chaffee. This is one of many events in our Housing and Health Speaker Series, and I'm so glad to see so many of you have decided to join us this evening. This dinner and a movie event tonight, hopefully you are either enjoying some delicious local cuisine or you donated the money for your dinner to the Chaffee County Community Foundation. We wish we could have provided more than the 100 meals that we were able to tonight. I'd like to express my sincerest gratitude to the Housing and Health team who pulled this all together this evening. Lisa Martin, Heather Gorby, and Janie Hayes have worked their magic to bring us all together tonight. So thank you for all of the great work you are doing in our community. Due to the long-lasting pandemic, many of our neighbors and friends may be facing economic uncertainty, some of them for the first time, or for the first time in a long time. So many of us are feeling disconnected with all of the social distancing and isolation that we've been experiencing. We're hoping that this event brings us together and leaves us with a greater sense of connection to our community. So thank you so much for participating. This speaker series is intended to not only focus on improving housing options, but also to help address the social inequities that exist right here in Chaffee County. That's why we've worked with partners to create the We Are Chaffee community storytelling and community conversation website. Please visit the We Are Chaffee website at www.wearechaffee.org to find new community stories and information about local organizations. So with that, I will now turn it over to the amazing Chaffee County Office of Housing Director, Becky Gray. Thank you.
Oh, Andrea, thank you so much for that great welcome. It is so nice to have you here with us this evening. We all know you've been busy responding to the pandemic that we're living through, and we very much appreciate all that you've done and continue to do for our community's health and well-being. Thank you for making time to join this special event tonight. My job is to provide all of you as audience members with an overview of what to expect this evening and then to facilitate the event. This Zoom platform has certainly kept us connected the last year, and I continue to learn more about all of the features that it contains. Some of them I'm going to highlight for you tonight. Currently, you as the audience are all muted, which simply means that if you talk, we won't hear you. This just helps us manage the sound of a presentation of this size, and it should give you a more pleasant listening and watching experience. However, we do want to hear from you. So if you have questions now or during the presentation, you can ask them by clicking on Q&A at the bottom of your screen, type in your message, and then hit enter. The question will come to me. After we finish watching the fantastic movie that's waiting for you, I will ask the questions on your behalf of our storytellers. So jump on in the discussion and ask away using the Q&A feature. Another feature we are going to use tonight is real-time polling. So I am currently launching a poll, and you should be seeing on the screen before you a list of questions. all of the answers that you are going to offer will be anonymous. So I'm going to ask you to take a bit of time right now and answer the questions that you see on the screen. You might have to scroll a little bit to get to the bottom of them. And I will let you know that the survey results from prior events in the Housing Health Speaker Series and Dinner and a Movie events are not only being reported to our funders at CDPH&E, but they're also used to inform our strategy for moving these initiatives into the future. From our survey results, we're seeing an increase in our community's level of understanding around the complex systemic issues that impact housing affordability. As well, we're documenting our community's resilience through these personal stories, connections, and respectful communication. So as soon as I see that all of the participants have participated in this poll, which it looks like we're getting fairly close, about 80% of you have finished voting, I will end the poll and we'll continue. So I'm just pause right here for a minute and let you finish scrolling down and answering the questions that you see in front of you. Okay, it looks like the vast majority have answered. So thank you very much. Our grantors and the housing health team appreciate your participation. I will now close that poll and we will move on with the night's event. So the guests that are joining us tonight have volunteered to participate in 2 separate local workshops to capture their stories. We partnered with an amazing organization called Story Center. Some of our friends from Story Center are here tonight. So glad to have you here as guests. And they taught the participants how to create their own personal story and how to produce and edit the videos. In addition to thanking Story Center and the storytellers, we would also like to thank Chaffee County Family Youth Initiatives, Horizons Exploratory Academy, and Chaffee County High School for recruiting the outstanding young people you will hear from shortly. We have combined all the videos into one movie, and we'll introduce the storytellers after the movie and answer questions from you at that time. And then finally, at the end of the evening, we will reveal a We Are Chaffee video montage that includes 25 local superstars. So without further ado, I present to you tonight the movie to accompany your dinner and movie. This is Becky coming back at you, and I apologize. I am hearing that I don't have sound going, so please forgive my technical difficulties. I am going to relaunch this movie, and I will share my sound this time. Thank you for your patience and understanding.
When I climb the top of S Mountain in Salida, I feel like a lion. Like I have my own territory where things are calm. I know lions don't seem calm to some people, but they are to me. They are strong, but also gentle and caring. They have lots of courage. Life has been overwhelming for me lately with midterms at school, and I just have a lot of stuff going on at my house right now. But when I think about being a lion on top of S Mountain, it calms me down. I used to hike S Mountain with my mom. Her name was Samantha. She passed away 2 years ago. I miss her every single day. We usually took the Little Rainbow Trail. We would spend all day up there looking around and down at the town. These days, when I make it to the top, I think of lots of things, but mostly I think about my mom and how proud she would be of me now. My mom used to pull me out of school at lunchtime and take me to eat Sonic or other fast food places. I would order some type of sandwich or cheeseburger and fries too sometimes. She would order the same thing as me most of the time. We never really got milkshakes, but if we did, I would order the chocolate one. After she died, I needed some help. I did a year of anger management at school, and it really was a good thing for me. I used to scream and punch, but now I just walk away. It's a better strategy than fighting. I am really trying to get better at communicating now. Drawing also calms me down a lot. I used to do a lot of scenery, but now I draw lots of Venom from Spider-Man. He's kind of like me before I became less angry. I have lots of courage, and I am making it to the top of lots of mountains these days. And when I get to the top of all my mountains, I feel pretty courageous. Just like a lion.
When I awoke, I had no idea where I was or what was going on. I was alone, laying in a bed in a room that I didn't recognize. I was disoriented and didn't feel that well. I dozed off and on and finally was aware that my wife, Shirley, entered the room with several physicians. A neurologist and his chief resident introduced themselves, and explained that I had just been transferred to Craig Hospital in Englewood from St. Anthony's in Lakewood. They were going to help me recover from a cycling accident. I had no memory of a cycling accident, and certainly had no memory of being at St. Anthony's. I do remember cycling, and I do remember my route. There was a witness who contacted the police, and the record shows that I went down on Route 144 directly across from the Salida graveyard, less than a mile from my house. Within an hour, I was on a helicopter on my way to St. Anthony's. I have been told that if I was not wearing a helmet, I would have died. At Craig Hospital, I was taken care of by a team, several physicians and a group of therapists, and my mind began to function. While everyone was terrific, it was my physical therapist that helped me believe in myself. At first, I was afraid to even step over and sit down on the recumbent bikes we were riding together. But after a deep breath, I did it. The next day, she took me outside and told me we were going to frolic. She skipped up a small rise and jumped over small bushes. She looked at me and said, "Phil, it's your turn." I knew she believed in me, and I did it. In bed each night, I would focus on getting well. I didn't want to burden Shirley with taking care of me. I wanted to watch my daughters grow and live, and I wanted to ski again. I never felt depressed, and I never doubted that I would get well. On the day I left, I thanked my therapists and physicians for all they did for me. They told me, "It was your drive that got you to where you are today. We just facilitated." I still take that with a grain of salt. On April 12th, my birthday, I skied greens and blues with Shirley at Monarch. I was carving nice turns and skiing fast. The day I left Craig, I was convinced I would sell both my bikes. In July, I asked Shirley to come outside and watch me glide on my bike, not pedaling, just pushing with my feet. 5 seconds later, I was off and pedaling. I rode a total of 1,150 miles that year. And this year, I'm about to turn 2,000.
We held hands as we walked down the sidewalk that morning. After spending so many months cooped up at home, these days he came to work with me felt like a relief. He told me he was going to help customers and take breaks at the skate park. As we got closer to the shop, I saw something taped to the door. I was cautious, so I quickly opened the door and told Cedar to go inside. I took the piece of paper and read it. It was a punch to the gut. On December 7th, 1941, my family was bunching onions in their barn in the South Park neighborhood of Seattle. My grandfather liked to listen to music on the radio while working with his parents and siblings. Suddenly, the music was cut short. Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor. Everyone felt a sense of shock. Somehow, they got through the day and went to bed that night. At midnight, there was a knock on the door. 2 men entered, arrested my great-grandfather, and detained him in Seattle. He was taken to a detention center in Montana. No more information given. The rest of the family was sent to American concentration camps. They would stay there for the next 2.5 years. When I was Cedar's age, my dad took me on a road trip to Montana. We passed through Clark Fork, Idaho, and we were hungry, so we decided to stop for a bite to eat. When we walked into the restaurant, no one greeted us to tell us where to sit, so we found a booth against the wall. It wasn't busy, but we sat there for a long time. The waitress kept passing our table to help others. More folks came in and sat at tables around us. She passed us several more times and never made eye contact. For the first time, I recognized the ugly feeling of racism. Finally, we left. I hadn't intended to tell him, but when I gave my statement to the police, there wasn't any way around it. He asked me what was happening, and I showed him the note. I read it to him and told him what it meant. With his head down and tears in his eyes, he asked me if we would be okay. I told him not to worry. We belong here too. I am determined to make this true.
It would be the longest backpacking trip I'd ever done. A 4-day trip and around 40 miles of the Rainbow Trail in Colorado. I had all the right gear, a 40-pound pack, and all of the skills necessary to go. I'll never forget that Easter Dad asked us if we wanted to move to Salida. I grew up in Canyon City, and my life there was pretty good. I had one brother, 5 sisters, and a few good friends. We'd ride our bikes all over town. It was home. At first, the move to Salida was like when you go to the house of someone you don't really know. I was in 6th grade, and I had no friends, at least not like I used to. Eventually, I made some good friends who liked doing the same stuff I did. Soon after we became friends, they convinced me to try out Boy Scouts. On day 3, we were deep into the woods. We were starting to run out of water, and by using our maps, we found that the next reliable water source was 2 miles ahead, so we trudged on. The trail led across the side of a mountain and into a ravine, and while some kids finished off their water, I was looking at a sign next to the trail. Impassable trail due to forest fire. Please turn back. My scoutmaster was reading it too. "Pack's on," he yelled, and down we went. At the bottom of the ravine, we filled our water bottles. Then our scoutmaster assigned one of my friends to find the best way out. We spent part of the time bushwhacking. After a long day of hiking, and now going off trail, I could feel that I was getting fatigued. It got darker, the terrain got more technical, and we were exhausted. We found the least bad place to set up camp and dropped our packs, ate dinner, and hung our food in bear bags very far from camp. Instead of sleeping in my hammock, I convinced one of my friends to let me share their tent. As we started to wake up, I heard someone yell, "Bear!" And one by one, we all saw it, just across the ravine. A small black bear. It wasn't interested in us, so we did our best to ignore it, packed up, and started our hike out. I'm now 16 and plan to hike the 470-mile Colorado Trail with one of my scout buddies this summer. When I'm on trail, I am free. I am at peace. I am home.
I remember the very first time I held Kiwi, and I saw the missing chunk out of her left ear. And I knew we had a lot in common. We both had it rough. October and November was probably one of the worst times of my life, and probably one of the worst times out of the year. There was horrible fighting in my family. It got so bad I couldn't even think about doing my homework. And I started to do terrible in school. And the time my grandfather fell down a flight of stairs. Then finally, I decided to move out. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to escape. And I remember crying myself to sleep, huddled up in a ball every night. I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. One of my brothers goes to college, and he was home because of COVID. And his girlfriend found Kiwi on the street cold and hungry. And he decided to bring her to my house when I had to be in quarantine for a month. I missed a lot of school. My grades were improving at the time, but I was still kind of failing because I missed that month of school. You may wonder or question why they decided to name her Kiwi. It was because of her eyes and how green they were. When me and Kiwi got to know each other, she was a little rough. Her claws would come out of nowhere when I tried to reach something. I think she was used to living on the street and fighting for what she wanted. When I came home from school, she would relax and stretch out on the couch, and I would give her a big fat smile. And I felt my mood and spirit rise. And I started doing very well in school again. By the time my brother decided to go back to school, he decided to take Kiwi. But that's really okay. By then, my parents stopped arguing and I started trusting them again. And I decided to move back home with my parents. And my grades improved. I miss Kiwi, but occasionally I do see her and she runs up to me and gives me a little kiss on the cheek. She was my very first pet, even though me and her had it rough. I guess we got each other through the rough times.
All I could see was fat. Every time I looked in the mirror. They called it body dysmorphia. I was always bigger than the other kids, the ones who bullied me from the moment I started school. I was 11 pounds, 13 ounces when I was born, and by 13 years I was 6'1" and 175 pounds. Why wouldn't they make fun of me? At home, my mom and dad fought. All of us did. We knew our parents were just waiting for me and my sister to graduate high school before they divorced. The air was tense, and my sister and I threw all of our frustration into punches at each other. So that was bad. And school was worse. C's and D's. I couldn't see beyond the pain. I stopped really eating, my muscles ached. I'd sit up at 3 a.m. and work out. I'd constantly shake my legs, thinking that would help me burn calories. It hurt to live. When I moved, my arms felt like a needle was sticking them. My calves hurt when I stood up. I felt woozy. A constant headache started. The only peace I found was when I was sleeping. I had failed at school, at everything. My mom sat down with me one night and had me look at old photos of me and my sister. She said I was looking very skinny, and I decided to come out about my habits. My heart broke when I saw the look on her face. Her tears tore me apart. She said, "Baby, I don't want you to ever feel that way. You were a miracle from birth, and I have fought to keep you alive since you were born. I can't believe you would just throw that away." My mom isn't here anymore, but I think about her every day. She was invincible. Her words that day gave me the courage to begin pushing out the negative thoughts. When one of my old habits started, I tried to do the opposite thing. I ate during the day. I listened to music at night to help me go to sleep. I powered through. With my mom's memory, I know I can do this. I'm making a new life for myself.
How did I get here? You were asleep for years as I flourished. You waited, and when my defenses were down and no one was watching, you unleashed your power. You waged a war, but you do not play by any rules. Your Trojan horse, so small, goes undetected by most that fall prey to your assaults. Just one little bite. You fooled so many into believing you do not exist. A coward, you hide in the darkness or fade to the background with your camouflage. You took my strength, my sanity. You left me teetering on the edge. You sucked my energy. You drained my heart, my tears, my passion, my muscles, my mind. You consumed me with fatigue and pain and rage. Your attacks continued in unpredictable waves. Though I felt you coming at times, still shocked at how quickly and devastatingly you could strike. You laugh in my face. You mock me. Year after year, my defenses were weakened. Was I dying? Some thought I had. My family feared I would. There were days I wished I could. You taunted me over and over, sucking me into the illusion of triumph. Then you would strike again and again and again. So many unsuspecting victims in your wake. You are relentless. You are devious and heartless. You attacked my family. You stole from me and my children. You masked this mother, wife, and friend. Even I could not recognize the host you invaded. Have I become invisible? I pretend you have no impact, smiling through the pain, the loss, a facade that I perfected. Took years to flesh you out, to identify you, with imperfect science and a dogma that denies your true nature. You alienated me from my soul, my joy, my family, my friends, my dreams, my voice, for a time.
So many years and scars, but I am back. I am a natural survivor. Stronger and smarter I now bend without breaking. Be warned, I am coming for you. I will never give up, and I have joined forces with the masses of wounded you attempted to break. Masses that are growing in number, strength, and focus to expose and defeat you. We have revealed you. We are all coming for you.
When you have a sibling, you find a way to make everything a competition. Everything. It doesn't matter how stupid it is, you always find a way to prove that you're better. When I was about 14 years old, my family and I went on a trip to Monarch Mountain with an old friend of mine from elementary school. My brother had gone boarding a few times before this, so he went on the harder runs and I was left to practice on the easiest run of the entire mountain, Butterfly. Being the little brother, I wanted to catch up to him, even though that was pretty unreasonable at the time. To get to the top of Butterfly, we had to travel through a giant tube. Inside was a treadmill-like belt that carried us to the top of the hill. It was hot, there wasn't a lot of air, and I was still getting used to all my new gear. All I wanted to do was start boarding. Would we ever get to the top of this thing? Finally, we got to the slope, and my friend's dad started teaching me how to board. Learning any new skill takes some getting used to, but for boarding, you have to fall over many times before you get it right. It's like learning to ride a bike, but without the training wheels. And it's cold. Eventually, I was able to stand up on the board, but that was only half the battle. I had to learn how to stop. That meant turning the board to face forward while I leaned back. I felt really bad when I eventually crashed into my friend's dad. I bashed into his upper leg and he had to go inside to heal up. But I was still determined to get it down. I had to do this. I must have fallen down and gotten back up about 30 times and re-entered that miserable tube countless times before I started to get a feel for it. By now, my feet were aching from the boots. I fell over so many times I started to hurt everywhere, and the frustration. There were a few times I just wanted to up and quit. And then, somehow, it just clicked. Doing better than my brother didn't even matter anymore.
The gun was about to fire, and I had to stop it. My mind was spinning. My body was numb, and my eyes were the only way I could tell I was moving forward. Behind me, over 100 girls blinked questioningly into the sun. But 7 of the girls, tears pouring, understood. How could this be happening? These 7 young ladies had worked too hard. Their dream had abruptly become a nightmare. A year ago, this team had become state cross-country champions for the first time in school history. This season, they had proven that they were once again the best. Last night, at our team dinner, the girls were an elegant balance of confidence, carefreeness, and focus. As their coach, I was certain we had the best team, but we would still have to go and earn what was ours. Now, just 2 minutes before their race was set to begin, they were told that only 4 of them could race because the stitching on their uniforms didn't match. Wait, it takes 5 to score. The best team in 3A cross country wouldn't even receive a team score. While the 7 frantically and selflessly discussed who would run and who would not, a tiny thread of hope appeared. One of our assistant coaches realized he was wearing a uniform that would allow for a 5th girl to compete. The starter, growing impatient, once again drew his gun to signal the start as the 7, now reduced to 5, fumbled with safety pins, race bibs, and swapped jerseys. Bang! 5 girls from Salida High School lurched from the starting line with expressions of determination and exhaustion. And 2 brave teammates quickly stepped back to become devoted spectators. The rest of that day was a blur. We finished second, only 4 points from first. The girls deserved a different ending. Everyone deserved better. I felt crushed. In the weeks and months that followed, I realized what strength truly looks like.
To belong. What's it mean? I moved around a bit growing up. I was born in Mexico, moved to Texas shortly after. I belonged there. Everything was normal. We moved to Mexico 9 years later, and I was excited. A new adventure. Instead, I got my first glimpse of being different. For the first time, I heard the words, "Go back to where you came from." I mean, it made sense then. I was an American, right? But now, I was in Mexico. What would any other 9-year-old do? Blend in. I started talking like my friends. I started dressing like them too. I was one of them. I belonged. Go back to where you came from. I heard these words again as we moved back to the US after 4 years. At this point, all I could think of was, make up your mind. So I started blending in again. Living in the US and Mexico, I learned to adapt, I moved a lot, so I had to learn to make friends. And I was decent at it. During college, I started thinking about the words, go back to where you came from. Where was this place I came from? What did it mean when I was blending in? In college, you get to meet so many people, and every time you do, you have to show who you are. Who was I? Where was I from? Was I from Mexico? Texas? Ohio? Did the location itself even matter? Maybe there's something more to it. So I became whoever I wanted to be. I was doing things for myself, not just to fit in. There I was trail running, rock climbing, mountain biking, just being outside really. I felt like I belonged. I adapted in a different way. Being outside is where I wanted to be from. I didn't want to stop there. I took a year off before medical school and applied for an AmeriCorps position in Salida, Colorado, a place to reinvent myself. I've met so many like-minded people who share my passion of being outside. We've been snowboarding, splitboarding, and kayaking. No one here said go back to where you came from, but how about we go down Browns Canyon? Or let's try the Monarch Crest Trail. They don't care where I've been, but where I'm at. I found that the place that I come from isn't bound by a physical location. It's found in the things I love, the things that make me happy. The outdoors, that's where I belong. Isn't that where we all belong?
Well, I think if we were live at the steam plant or some other venue, this is where we would be erupting in applause for those fantastic stories that we just saw. I may have cried a little bit. That was incredibly powerful for me, and I hope the rest of you joining us tonight had a very similar experience. Now I'm going to invite our storytellers and other panelists to turn their cameras on, and we're going to start a question and answer session. So let's see. There we go. We got folks starting to turn their cameras on. I will make some introductions. When I do introduce you, storytellers, feel free to either just wave and acknowledge that you've been introduced, or if you would like, you can unmute yourself and say just a couple of brief words, and then we'll move into the storytelling effort after that. So I would like to introduce Phil Picala. Oh, Phil's camera's not quite on now. Let's see if I can ask. I'll ask him to unmute and start his video. Let's move on then. I will introduce Daniel Allison.
Okay, I'm there.
Hi, Daniel. Now we have Phil Picala with us. Hi, Phil.
Hi.
We also have Diego Ibarra with us.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining.
And Kenny Wilcox.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching.
Kimmy Uno is here tonight.
Hi there. Thank you for being here.
We have Monica White with us tonight.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
And Nick Francis.
Hi.
So glad you're here tonight. I appreciate all of you so much. 3 of our storytellers were unable to join us tonight. That is Santos Evangelista, Dante Marinucci, and Talmadge Trujillo. So we appreciate them just as much. Unfortunately, we don't get to see them and ask questions. So the first question I'm going to ask is really for any of you who would like to field this. And it's really focused on that storytelling workshop that helped produce these wonderful films. What are some of the things that you learned during that workshop experience?
I'd say for myself, it was really how to be honest with myself and kind of just realize how I've gotten to where I am.
So some introspection was involved in getting to those stories. Anybody else want to offer up some of the things you learned during that storytelling workshop?
I think for me, the process of doing this story helped me process my feelings and emotions. And I feel like it was a healing process. And my group was just so wonderful to work with, and so much gratitude for Marianne and Holly and Lisa. And yeah, I think that it was just like a really healing process.
I would say the same thing. Going through the video workshop and writing my story brought me back to think about what I had been through and cope with it. And it was very much a healing experience, and sharing it with the group. I mean, it was a terrific group to work with. And hearing everyone else's story and realizing that I wasn't alone recovering from all of this was just terrific.
The group I was with, I was the old man in the young group, and it was just incredibly inspiring to watch as these young men were vulnerable with each other and with the group. And I think they valued the fact that their story might have an impact for somebody else in a positive way. So I really appreciated that group and just seeing that vulnerability show through.
And I agree. I was with Kimmy and Phil, and it was cathartic. As an advocate, I so often speak for others, and in this setting, I don't know, it allowed me to be vulnerable and speak for myself, and I was really shocked at what came out. So thank you, you guys.
Very good. It sounds like it was a really powerful experience for all the folks involved. And I do think that the facilitators at Story Center, Marianne and Holly, are just really exceptional at the work that they do and help craft those stories.
Agreed.
Another question that I had, many people are asking is, can we view this again? Where can we see this later? So I'll just go ahead and answer that and get it out of the way so we don't have those questions to continue rolling in. The Housing and Health team will share the recording of tonight's event on www.housinghealthchaffee.org. So check that out for sure. There'll be more later. But the next question then is that some of your stories are very personal. And we want to know, how did you find the courage to tell these intimate stories through this storytelling workshop?
It was such a safe environment to be able to do so. I had only met Lisa prior in this group, and I don't know. It was amazing that everybody was there with the same level of respect. It was just a secure environment to be able to do what we needed to do. I think we all needed it as much as we're trying to help others with our story. I think it really helped me, and I believe it helped everybody else too. So it was a safe environment. Yeah.
I think like writing it down, Phil and Monica could probably tell you, when I started to tell them what I was going to make my story about, I couldn't even get through it. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't get any words out. But the process that you go to, you sort of introduce your story, and then you write it as a story, and then you record yourself telling this story. And I think for me, the process of getting it down on paper and writing it out really helped me be able to, like I said, heal and process what happened.
Just to toss this in, I think with Kimmy and Monica and myself, it was about resilience. It was leading to resilience. It was the theme for the writing workshop, but we were all going through resilience because of what we were doing.
It's a powerful time. Oh yes, Nicholas, please.
I was going to say, I initially did this course for my last credit for Chaffee County to graduate, but it definitely turned into a lot more
when I got started because of the amount of enthusiasm that Mary had to keep me going through all of it. It was really helpful. But it was definitely a struggle to look at those photos, because the one with me as a baby and my mom, it gets me every time. I can't look at it without crying, because my mom had passed away in 2017, so pretty fairly recently. But it definitely, I had to make my video twice too, so twice the crying. But it definitely helped me get through a lot of it with the help of Marianne and my principal, Christine, too.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think this is a powerful time as we're still moving through this pandemic to really focus on resilience. That's why the housing and health team picked the topic for this event. And you all have definitely demonstrated that healing comes through the process of addressing what's before us. And that is where we really find resilience. So I have some more questions from the audience. This one was specifically addressed to Phil. However, I believe any of you could jump in and answer this after he finishes. Through the difficulty you experienced, through the story that you shared, were there something particular in there where you found joy?
Every day seeing my daughters. You know, they live in Denver and Boulder, and they visited me every day. And it kept me, sorry, it kept me alive.
Phil, I think you really just highlighted how powerful human connections are. And of course, with our offspring, perhaps even more so, but I appreciate you sharing that. Having those human connections for sure can pull us through these times of difficulty. Anybody else found a moment of joy throughout their story? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question then. Our audience members would like to know, what was the most challenging thing for you during this process?
For me, it was the photo that I had to keep looking at. That was pretty challenging for me because I don't really look at that photo a lot. You know, it's kept in the back of my gallery. So.
I would jump in there with Nick. As therapeutic and cathartic as it can be to go through a process like this, there's also a part of you that has to relive part of that challenge too, and that's not always easy.
I think for me, I was so shocked at the level of emotion and especially the level of anger that came out. And I mean, the first time I had ever said those words out loud was within my group. And I couldn't repeat it afterwards. I mean, what you saw was not what the group got the first time. So realizing that, you know, like it was okay, that was part of the grief process, and to be able to move forward through that. But seeing the level of emotion and anger that I had to begin with, because everything that I do in action is for moving forward and positivity, and it was shocking to me, honestly.
Would anybody else like to talk about what they found most challenging about this process? I have another question queued up that I think is a fun one. How are you feeling now after sharing these stories in this public format with your peers in the storytelling movement?
I don't know if comforting is the right word, but I appreciate that there's so many other people. You go throughout your day and you interact with people and you just assume that everyone's had an easy life, and it's nice to know that there's other people who are also going through their own story.
And I cheated. I shared my story a little bit within the Lyme community prior with some trusted other advocates, and the feedback that I got was so good, and my family especially, like, just to see them be so proud of this. I mean, I am technically like not very talented at all. So to see this end product of something that their mom did was I think pretty amazing. And so the feedback, knowing that I'm speaking for a larger community besides myself, was really rewarding. So I appreciate them, the ability to do that and to be able to do it in such a safe space.
Thank you. Thank you. We had a little technical difficulty and lost Daniel for a minute. I'm glad you're back, Daniel. Feel free to turn on your mic and jump in. You missed a couple of opportunities to answer stories. Do you have any thoughts you wanted to share right now?
No, but I do want to thank everyone who helped me during this story. I couldn't have done it without them.
Fantastic. It sounds like it was a really powerful experience. And that kind of leads me to another question coming from our audience. What advice would you give to community members who might be considering participating in a future Story Center workshop like this?
I'll jump in there. Yeah, I think the one advice or just some words to share would be, you're going to get way more out of it than you can imagine. And you should also go into it expecting that you're going to probably have a profound impact on somebody else's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really suggest doing it because it helped me a lot just talking about what I went through, and I wanted to help other people too, you know.
I'd say jump in with both feet. Don't hesitate, because it's such a rewarding experience, and everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. So if you have the opportunity, do it.
I would say definitely figure out something that you definitely struggled with, and or you succeeded with, and try to give it your best to put yourself back in the moment, because that definitely makes a really good story.
So many of you have brought up other people, whether it was people in your workshop or your family or others who supported you through this. Why do you think it's important for people to share their stories with each other?
Because like, it's kind of hard to explain, but they could just, it could help people get through harder times, like, because like how I lost my mom, someone else obviously did, you know, and it could help them get through that, you know.
Very good.
I couldn't say it better than Daniel. Yeah, just I think everybody has that ability to touch another life, whether it's one or 1,000 or 1,000,000. Like there's so many people going through the same experiences in different ways, and being able to share, I think, just helps. So great, Daniel.
So do you think that sharing these stories not only helps you have the interpersonal relationship with the people immediately around you, but do you think that it also helps you connect with the broader community as a whole?
I was gonna say, I personally, Marianne asked me a question when I was starting to make my story, and she asked if I personally could help anybody with the problem that I was given, and I told her that I definitely could not. It was too much of a struggle for me to go through, let alone help somebody else. But I hope that the video I did share helped. It can help somehow, you know, because I know it's a really hard struggle.
Thank you for sharing it. And I think that might be at the core of the storytelling initiative in its concept, is that we can all really relate to each other probably a lot more than we think we can on the surface. And that's a beautiful thing to remember, that we are all here together doing this thing called life together. One of the questions that we have below is, will the storytelling workshop be offered again in the future for other people to be telling their stories? And I will say that the housing and health team's working on that. We feel pretty confident that there will be another one coming. Can't say for sure yet, but after the end of this conversation with our storytellers, we do have an exciting announcement that might carry the storytelling movement forward into the future more permanently in Chaffee County. So hang tight on that one. I'm seeing so many comments about how appreciative the audience has been. I'll say one that I think summarizes all of them, so I'll read it here. I am moved deep in my soul with these beautiful and honest stories. Thank you so much to all who were vulnerable and honest enough to share their stories. I feel more resilient just listening to your hearts. So I say thank you and concur. Let's see if we have any more coming in. There are a lot of accolades and congratulations in the chat, which I will be able to share with all of you storytellers afterwards via email. I figured out how to download that chat off of the Zoom. So you'll have those to read through and remember. And is there anything else that any of you storytellers would like to share before we move on to the next part of our event this evening?
Just a huge thank you.
And I would just add, never minimalize your story. It is worth something. As humans, we're great at comparing to one another, and sometimes that can inhibit us from sharing what might be the most important in a certain or given moment. So your story's worth something. Share it.
That's beautiful, Kenny. Thank you. I don't know that we could have wrapped that up on a better note. So I appreciate all of you taking the step to be brave enough to record those videos and go through the process and to share them with us tonight. Very much appreciate your courage and your inspiration. Thank you so much. So with that, what we will do is to another transition, and I'll ask all of our storytellers that they can either stay with their cameras on if you like, or turn them off. We will transition and invite Mr. Nick Ryder to join us for this next segment. I have the pleasure of introducing Nick Ryder, who is helping to guide the evolution of the storytelling movement here in Chaffee County into We Are Chaffee. Nick is working through a steering committee that has been put together by the Housing and Health team, and he's going to share with us a bit about the evolution of We Are Chaffee and introduce us to this exciting new countywide initiative. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Becky, so much. Like Becky said, I'm Nick Ryder and a member of the We Are Chaffee County Steering Committee. First, I want to again thank all of our storytellers tonight. Those were truly wonderful and moving. I definitely had a tear in my eye as well. So moving on to a little bit about We Are Chaffee, so you all understand a little bit about us. We Are Chaffee is designed as a safe place for nonprofits, community institutions, and more to share and engage in each other's stories. The hope is that through listening, sharing, and engaging in those stories, our community will become more aware and accepting, and ultimately more compassionate and resilient. The We Are Chaffee County, or the We Are Chaffee Initiative, or WAC as we affectionately call it, grew out of the Chaffee County Public Health and Housing grant-funded housing and health program. What a mouthful. It's also supported by the Chaffee County Community Foundation and others who were inspired to create We Are Chaffee to be a catalyst for community dialogue and learning. The program has engaged with many local partners who are beginning to submit short videos describing their own organizations, and these partnerships are quickly becoming great resources as they're helping to supply videos created by those community members in their circles. These videos are just the beginning and will continue to grow our library of local inspiration. We invite you to visit our recently launched website as these stories are frequently being added. The new website will not only serve as the hub, will not only serve as the hub of these stories you heard tonight, but will also be the central repository for all stories going forward. We invite you to check out the website by visiting www.wearechaffee.org, and I'll put it in the chat. We hope that you enjoy and learn from our new website. I'm also excited to announce that in just a few minutes, you will be viewing Chaffee County's first ever video montage highlight of 25 local residents who make our county so special. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Nick, for that introduction. I just couldn't be more tickled with the work that you and the rest of the steering committee are doing. But before we hit the play button for the montage video, I am going to launch the second poll of the evening to collect a little bit more data that, again, is going to help those of us involved in the planning of this initiative move forward. So hopefully you see before you on your screen a list of questions, and I will pause while you are scrolling down your questions and making your answers known. And I want to, while you're doing that, on behalf of Chaffee County residents and the audience participating this evening, thank Monica, Kimmy, Kenny, Diego, Daniel, Phil, Santos, Nick, Dante, and Talmadge for sharing their stories tonight. It has been a very moving experience, and we're grateful that we are all able to participate in this together. So I still see some answers coming in on the polls, and I'm just going to give it a little bit more time. I would also like just to take the opportunity while we're waiting for these polls to be completed to thank Mary Ann and Holly, who are Story Center employees that have helped 3 times now, I think, going on 4, hopefully, in these storytelling workshops, increase our community's capacity for being able to understand the powerful impact of storytelling, as well as understand the technical side of it and editing their own videos, etc. Okay, that was a whole lot of waiting for the grand finale. So I'm going to go ahead and end the polling now and invite my co-host Lisa Martin to share her screen and launch the video montage of We Are Chaffee. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
We are Chaffee!
Why is Chaffee special?
People here take care of each other.
I love Chaffee!
We have beautiful mountains and rivers and a happy and healthy lifestyle. Thank you, Chaffee County.
They say follow your hearts to this magical place. You can also follow your dreams.
Chaffee is fun!
We are so fortunate to live in this magical area we call Chaffee County. Remember to get outside and enjoy yourself. Stay happy and stay healthy.
Chaffee is so special, active people and an engaged community.
We have a collaborative spirit and ethic that runs through our municipalities, our county government, our school districts. We all work together to solve our problems.
Our business community is strong.
And we feel super supported.
Chaffee County has been extremely welcoming since I arrived.
I love Chaffee because of the beautiful mountains and the wonderful sports.
We love our place!
Chaffee is nature. We welcome and encourage outrageous behavior.
Chaffee is family.
I'm lucky to live in Chaffee County because of all the activities I can do around here.
We're natives, and we love it here.
My ancestors, the Hutchinson family, arrived here about 151 years ago to go gold mining. We started ranching and we've been at it ever since. It's a beautiful place to have cows. It's a beautiful place for us to live, and we hope to make it another 150 years.
Chaffee County is such a great community because it's inclusive, artistic, and something that I love about it is the Lida Circus.
Chaffee County has a heart the size of the Rocky Mountains. After all, we are in the heart of the Rockies. Chaffee County gets my goat.
I lived in Los Angeles area for 40 years, so you can see why I'm here.
Chaffee County raised me, and now I love giving back.
I came to Chaffee County for the geography. I stay for the community.
The Buena Vista Police Department is honored to serve the citizens of Chaffee County.
We have a true sense of community, and we support one another no matter what, despite our differences.
Here in Chaffee County, we're a clever bunch, not only in our music and arts, but also in the ways that we love, support, and uplift one another, even in times of strife. It's a pretty special place to be.
Chaffee County has been nothing less than kind and wonderful.
Chaffee is arts.
Chaffee has heart.
Chaffee is community.
We are Chaffee.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Please continue to stay connected through housinghealthchaffee.org and through wearechaffee.org. We'll see you again in the future.
Thanks, everyone.